Hello, everyone. I'm Becca, dietitian by trade, mom 24/7, wife from the start, and when there's a few extra hours in the day, you might find me hitting the trails or on horseback.
And I'm Kara, a therapist to women, a mom to a boy, an entrepreneur, mountain junkie, and a postpartum runner.
And this is Fit for a Queen, a podcast that's devoted to the female athlete wanting to balance the teeter-totter of all the things we desire out of life as women. Performance, health, intellect, and taking time for self, even if we only get 1 minute out of the day.
We're so excited to be bringing you the queens in the athletic world who have done just that. Okay, ladies, take a seat at your thrones, grab your crowns, and welcome to Fit for a Queen.
Well, welcome back, queens. We have Lauren Anton, who is not only our guest, but a good friend of ours and colleague. We love having to hang out with and get to visit on the phone, so fun to have her on the podcast. Lauren's a fellow RD, but also a CEDRD supervisor and certified personal trainer. She has a private practice in Los Angeles, California, and she's a certified eating disorder RDE through the International Association of Eating Disorder Professionals. Lauren specializes in eating disorders, sports nutrition, and helping those who struggle with their weight, and seeks to assist clients in moving away from punitive experience with food movement to one of self-compassion and self-care. Her non-diet, weight-inclusive, health at every size approach allows clients to shed the rules and regulations that bind them to behaviors that no longer serve them. As an expert in eating disorders and nutrition therapy, Lauren has worked at most levels of eating disorder treatment, including residential through IOP, and has spoken at numerous national and regional conferences and events on adolescents, eating disorders, and sports nutrition. She's also presented her own research at 2 conferences examining the effects of intuitive eating-based nutrition education on adolescent female cross-country runners. She's been quoted in publications such as the Washington Post, BuzzFeed, and the Huffington Post. Lauren served as a co-chair on the Academy of Eating Disorders Weight, Stigma, and Social Justice Special Interest Groups from 2015 to 2018 and on the iaedp-Los Angeles board from 2010 to 2014. Lauren is passionate about normalizing and enhancing the eating experience and encourages each of her clients to taste their food with all their senses in her mindful eating experientials. That sounded really funny. She also added that she gets a lot of good tips from her husband, who is a chef.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, he was a chef for, like 18 years? How long? Long time. He was a chef for a very long time, and now he works as like for a food supplying company as a marketing associate, so he's still in the restaurant industry and does a lot of the cooking in our house.
You must be a lucky gal.
I am a lucky gal. I don't know how I would do it without him. Right?
Well, Lauren, tell us about how you got such a unique educational background and practice philosophy. You were kind of ahead of the time before even health at every size and intuitive eating and movement became more mainstream.
This is such such an interesting question. So when I think back to, everything, I gotta start with, I think I will start with when I was working as just a straight up personal trainer in a gym, and then watching my clients, who a lot of them had like some sort of like either subclinical eating disorder, not a lot of them, but some had, subclinical eating disorder, and just like a few had like a, full blown eating disorder. I didn't know it at the time, and I look back and I see that. But what I did see at the time was people really abusing themselves in the gym. So either it would be like, clients now would have to rein them in, like, hey, if you're sore, don't be like working out. You're just going to end up injuring yourself. Or I just see it around me that it was the gym culture. Mm-hmm. And so I saw people just really flinging their bodies around, just sort of beating their body into submission, is what I saw. I also, ran competitively into college, starting in middle school, into college. And that also has colored my philosophy as well. Seeing both, awesome relationships with food, physical activity, body, and sport, and then also really disordered relationships or poor relationships with all of the above. And then also, the other thing that kind of, factors into this is I did get an MFA in acting back in the day.
No,
before
we didn't know that.
I know, and I got this, and the thing that has really stuck is all the breath work I did for just for vocal work for speaking in a theater, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then also the breath and body work that you do to create a character. And that has really covered in colored. I use that all the time, actually, breath work and tapping into, like, finding where the emotions are in the body. That was not like a foreign concept to me, so when I would hear like somatic therapists talk about that, I was like, oh yeah, I did that in acting, like, like all the time. So, because when people are really disconnected from how their emotions resonate in their body, that's when we start to see the disorder, creep up. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So that has been, those things have colored my philosophy. And yeah, my philosophy is obviously, health at every size, non-diet, weight inclusive approach, because I know for a fact that abusing the body, not listening to it, one is, just traumatic in and of itself. Two, increases injury. And then, three is often recreating trauma. And Becca, you sent me, you posted that article recently. Mm-hmm. I'm totally posting that, by the way. I meant to post it yesterday and I totally did. I totally forgot. But that's exactly it. The article for those listening was about, how, the correlation between injuries in athletes and, history of abuse. Mm-hmm. So that I see play out, a lot in my private practice. I see, there's a, trauma history and, correlated with a lot of overexercise, and not listening to the body.
Yeah. That kind of goes into our second question. And I think helpful for, me to know as a therapist too. So describe for us how you can stay in this place of compassion with kind of chronic disease or chronic injury. How have you been able to do that?
Okay, so I love this topic. And so because, it's really important to be able to have compassion and listen to the body literally on a daily basis. So, and then also have a lot of acceptance. So for me, how this plays out, and this does color like what I bring into sessions, with clients. So, I'll just like kind of tell my own experience. And it was just when so I had a lot of injury, especially starting in college. So in high school, when I was in cross country and track, it was just about, and I just think my youth protected me. Mm-hmm. I would just sort of like be like, just go, just fling my body into the race and, hope for the best. And that sort of thing. And when I got to college, it was a D1 team. They just weren't joking around.
Serious.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very serious. And I was like, one mistake I made was dogging it over the summer. Mm-hmm. And, thinking that I could just leap into, full-blown training. And not being honest with the coach. And so I just kind of, again, flung my body into that, and and then trying to run through injury. So what happened there is, and then also coming into that was not knowing how to fuel myself for this, it's just, even if you're running really well in high school, it's a whole different ball game in college. Mm-hmm. It's a whole different ball game. you gotta up the food game. You gotta literally just eat more. And and I did not know that. And when I started, fast forward, like, in my 30s when I started doing, marathons, I realized I was smarter at this point because I had my sports nutrition under my belt. And I was like, the whole, like, the gut-wrenching pain that started to happen during the longer runs. The first long run we went on, I was like, ow, ow, ow. And I'm like, it's happening again. Oh my God. I was like flashbacking, and I realized, oh wait, I had the same breakfast I had when I went on a 3-mile run the other day. What am I thinking? What am I thinking? This is not. So that was quite simple, but I could have used the guidance, frankly, of a sports dietitian back in college. I really, really could have. It would have prevented a lot of injury. And then also, so now, just fast forward into now, because of the years of ignoring injuries, especially in competition, and letting those things kind of creep up and not having compassion. And then also the other thing I want to mention was on my team, even in high school, I was, if you walk into even running shops too, it's funny what's considered like a larger body in running.
Oh, we just had this conversation.
Yeah.
It's a different world. I want the listeners to realize like the sort of weight stigma that's in running, and other sports, but running's my sport. And, I would have to get like on the, just like the top of the end of the line in terms of the sizing. I'm like, what do people do who are larger than me because they exist? There's just not an appreciation for the spectrum of bodies that might want to participate in retail stores, in these, especially running stores. If I'm like kind of capping it out, and I'm by no means, I'm not in a larger body at all. When I got a special order a bra, that's really speaking quite loudly. And that says there's not an appreciation and an inclusiveness in terms of bodies, and that's not cool. So that was also, and we all know this in running, there's this faulty belief that, I got to be thinner. And there was a lot of, I'll just say like funky eating, when I was on the team, especially in college, and, some overt eating disorders as well. And, it was really problematic when you're seeing these runners who burn quite brightly for the time that you see them. But then what you don't see is like a year or two later, they have, basically career-ending injuries. And it's all due to, essentially this pursuit of perfection in terms of, and then what it comes down to is I got to lose weight. I have to be lighter. Lighter is faster, and not necessarily at all. And so, in fact, it could really slow you down and then end your career. So when I found that when I, essentially engage in sport, physical activity, or any movement for that matter, when I engage in it from a perspective of self-loathing or self-hatred, or body hatred, and inadequacy, and any sort of want or need to manipulate my body in any sort of way. And usually it was this need to lose weight or want to lose weight, this desire to lose weight. That's when my that's when I would get injured. And I see that bear out in my private practice. When it stems from those kind of, negative thought processes, that's when the injuries are going to occur. And so that's what, and the problem is those injuries, they go away, but as we age, or I'll just speak for myself, as I've aged, and I'm 44 now, so I'm not that old. And
Right, you're right.
I'm not. I'm right. All right. And so it's like, we're not that old. I got a lot of life left. And I have chronic injury. I have chronic pain stemming from those old injuries. I've torn my hamstring. I've, torn, the labrum in my hip. I have, I had so much tendonitis and nerve damage in my feet, especially while I was in college. And that reverberates up the kinetic chain. So, I've had shoulder injuries. And so now I have chronic tendonitis, chronic bursitis, this sort of stuff. And so for me, just currently where I am now, no, I'm not running. So, and this is where the compassion comes in. This is the longest answer to this question. I'm so sorry.
It's all good
I can talk. I mean, I'm getting to a point. So, but this is where the self-compassion comes in, is how can I honor where my body is today? And, no, I'm not training for marathons today. That's what I'm not doing today. And what I am doing is saying, okay, here are my options. For me right now in my ability level, my options could be a walk. My options could be a spin class. It could be some yoga, and those are just a few options. There's others, but, just literally for today, those could be my options. And it can also be rest.
I appreciate
and that.
Oh, good.
Yeah, it's an appreciation of the body, it's just, okay, body, what are you telling me? So right now, and not to get too woo, but right now I have bursitis in my shoulder, and I have literally no idea why. My orthopedic surgeon thinks it's because I got pneumonia randomly in January and had to take a medication called Levaquin, which does cause tendonitis. Yeah, you're familiar, tendonitis. Just basically inflammation for a year or two post taking it. And he goes, oh yeah, you could have it because of that. So I could sit there and exercise to the point where I actually have a tendon rupture, or I can honor my body, and I'm choosing to honor my body. So right now I do find it interesting. Is what I meant when I said I don't want to get too woo, but I am going to get woo. I can't do any pushing. I can't do push-ups anymore. And I used to be, just to pat myself on the back, spectacular at push-ups. And I cannot do them right now because of this bursitis in my shoulder. And there's a bunch of pushing things I can't do. So what I can do is stretch my pectoralis muscles, my chest muscles. And so I just find it interesting that I can't push right now. And what I can do is stretch. Yeah. And I just find that really just correlates with life right now for me.
Well, and I appreciate where you divided it up, as I think a lot of times we want to compare to where we've been, right? We're creatures of habit doing that. And it may be looking at what are the options on, I think of a lot of our clients that maybe have chronic fatigue, like physical symptoms, and it may be a bad day for them. Yeah. Well, what does that look like that they could do, rather than comparing to when they had a great day and they cleaned the house and they went for a run and they did that, assessing where they're at right then and there. So I think that's a really great point.
Yeah, and realizing that nothing is forever. Well, even though, okay, yeah, I guess right now I'm not, running marathons, and I'm not always going to have bursitis. Nothing is forever. Right. Nothing is forever. And honoring the body as it changes, as it ages even, and whatever that is for that individual, honoring the body literally in the moment, not 10 years from now, not 10 years ago, and not even yesterday for that matter.
Can you talk about that a little bit more with being able to examine? So this individual comes in with chronic injuries, chronic diseases, and they're engaging in activity and movement, which we want, or their sport. How do you protect them from letting an eating disorder or disordered relationship take over with that movement when they have this injury that they need to be more compassionate with?
Oh, this is so what I like to do is literally just do this. I like to write, I have a whiteboard in my office, and I will literally split it down the middle, and I'll put intentions, and I'll put you know, recovery or healthy-minded intentions, and then I will put ED intentions on the other side. And then I'll also have little boxes of like the physical activities, things that kind of bring things out. Not that they need to stop them, but they need to be aware. Because especially if they're training in particular for a particular sport, we want to hopefully keep them in their sport, if at all possible. Yeah. If they don't happen to be training for anything particular, then it's easy to switch up the mode. But we sit there and we go through, okay, what would be the reason I would engage in physical activity aside from, manipulation of my weight or body shape? And, and we get to know, like, okay, it could be, increasing strength, increasing flexibility, increasing performance. It could be clearing the mind. It could be getting outdoors. It could be camaraderie. And then eating disorder stuff could be stuff about like, weight loss, body shape concerns, unhealthy competitive attitudes like comparison, that sort of thing, or one-upmanship. Unhealthy competition, because there's healthy competition and then there's unhealthy competition where it's, and we know how that goes. So finding out what that is. And then sometimes what I'll do also is a movement timeline, and I'll do it from birth to, now, and allow the person to sort of like list the activities and the movement. I always tell them, be super broad when you think about this. Broadly describe the type of movement you were doing at each point in your life. So when you were a baby, you were rolling, you were crawling, you were, whatever you were doing, you were learning to walk, you're pulling yourself up, you're holding your head up. And then what was the intention behind that? It was to explore, it was to walk, it was to whatever, and to explore the world around you, all the way to, maybe as they get older, they're riding their bike. What was the intention of that? To, hang out with my friends, that sort of thing. Moving on into perhaps this person's sport, okay, when that started. And we can often, especially with an eating disorder client, we can see where the eating disorder takes the sport. So a lot of times the participation in the sport will be about all those things: camaraderie, fun, healthy competition, like really enjoying the strategy of the game, that sort of thing, or enjoying the rush, and the joy that comes with participation in sport. And then you'll see, like, suddenly it's about, this is the only way I identify with myself and my body. This is the only thing I'm good at. What am I without this? And then suddenly it's about the body. Like, I need to be thinner. Then suddenly it was about weight loss when it never was before. So you might see that sort of shift. And when you do a timeline, it is really, really obvious. And I'll have them add things in like injury, any trauma, and they just put a T for the trauma. You don't need to get into it. It's not a therapy session, but like that's something I would share with the therapist as well, and be like, hey, here's this and how it correlated with their, their sport, their movement, their exercise.
I really like that.
So,
or even looking at enjoyment of that sport over time.
When does it shift?
I like using that activity.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Well, you have so much knowledge, Lauren, and I'm assuming that you're going to put it all in a book, right? So can you share your big news about this book you've been working on?
Yeah, with maybe another person that's possibly been on this podcast?
Possibly. The amazing Amanda Tierney. And so Amanda is the strength and conditioning coach over at the Victory program at McCollum Place, where they specialize in eating disorders and athletes. And so we met when I spoke at their conference, and we just gelled because we have the same outlook, same philosophy, et cetera. And so, yes, we are working on a book. Nice. And I've been doing, when I'm speaking, I'm reading little snippets from it. And, I'm super excited about the writing we've done, and I do think it's really important to talk about how to essentially take back the, our sport from the eating disorder, just reclaim that. So, 'cause I think, I think movement is so important. I'm being broad when I say it, because it can and will change over time. I did not become a professional runner, and that is okay. I didn't even qualify for Boston. That was a huge goal of mine. And then I tore my labrum in my hip, and that was that. That involved I'll say a grieving process.
Yeah, sure.
That's that you got to grieve it, right?
Absolutely.
And and then it involved acceptance, and not so much like some days, it's not about like I love my body. It's just acceptance. Acceptance. Here
Absolutely.
it is.
Of where it's at today.
Yeah. And so that's what we'll be talking about. All that in the book.
Can't wait. So, Lauren, with all your high energy, how do you live out this Phit philosophy, balancing your performance, your health, your intellect, and sneaking in time for self around your family?
Because I know you're a busy mama too.
Just started
this
kindergarten.
is true.
Yeah, he's 5.
Oh my gosh, yes. I have a 5-year-old who just started kindergarten. He's too cute.
Congratulations. You got him to school.
Yes, I did. I got him to school.
It's more like got mom away from school.
Oh my God, right? Oh my God. I did say I shed a couple tears. I'll say it.
Oh my God.
His little face. I just love him so much. He's literally my favorite person. He's my favorite person on earth. Sorry, Ben, you are too.
Oops.
Oops. So how do I?
You want us to edit that? No, I'm just kidding.
No, leave that in there.
And and then I have a full-time private practice, speaking and writing and, all the things. So like many people, just, we got work, we got family, and then we want to fit in, some just time for yourself. So what I do, I guess like a little strategy I have, is I will, and again, this involves tons of flexibility. I'll take a look at my week, and be like, okay, where can I fit in some, physical activity? I have the luxury, I'm just going to say this, luxury, and then, of course, just the situation, because, part of it makes me very sad, that I'm not really competing for anything right now. So I don't have to sit there and, get the brick workout in. I just don't have to, and one could say I don't get to at this point. But just, that's pretty much where it is right now. So I have that flexibility to be able to like, okay, well, what does my body feel like doing? And I can kind of pencil in like for the week, some activities in there, all the way from like meeting a friend to go on a hike to, to a spin class, to, okay, I'm going to, go in the gym. Like right now I'm trying to reincorporate some running back in. I got to be gentle because, of course I want to run outside. I don't want to run on a treadmill, but I got to be in acceptance right now and be like, okay, right now my body needs the gentleness of a treadmill. So, and because I need to do like just maybe 1 minute of running and then kind of walk it out, and I just listened to some awesome podcasts such as yours.
Thank you.
Can't wait, and great music and stuff like that. And, knowing that this isn't forever. So, and then also, I'll do that for the week, but as we know, things change, right? Maybe we don't get it. Maybe, my son woke me up like 3 times that night. Or, I had to put a client, where that class might have been or whatever. That's when I just change things around and I don't stress. And that's the flexibility I'm talking about is we need to be flexible. If a friend is like, hey, you want to go on a walk and talk? Yeah, I'm going to choose that over like, whatever gym workout. That's just way better. So, that's the level of flexibility. So that's something I do is, just kind of scheduling and then being cool to, deschedule it or reschedule it. And then also making sure that I try to go to bed at between, I really try to go to bed at 10:30 most nights. It's some nights that's hard. Like last night I was working on I don't know when this podcast, I won't let him listen to it, but I was working on a birthday present for my husband who's turning 50 in October. Ooh. And I know.
Look at you planning ahead.
I was like plotting this whole birthday present. I was like sitting there like working on it. And of course I was up late. So, but but most nights I do try to get for sleep because that is nothing like sleep to kind of sap lack of sleep to sap your energy. So. Yeah, but those are a few things that I do. Oh, and then I make sure to, I love going on walks, and then I live, pretty close to the ocean. So we've done, some ocean swimming as a family. Mm-hmm. My son loves the ocean. So incorporating it with family as well is always a fun thing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well, Lauren, as always, I love talking to you. Thanks for coming on, and I'm sure Kara and I will be seeing you around at the conferences.
Yeah. Oh, of course. The guys, thank you for inviting me. It was awesome talking to you.
Yeah.
Such good stuff. Thanks
Likewise.
so much, Lauren. Have a good one.
You too.
Bye, lady.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, queens.
Thank you to our sponsor today, Sentimano Counseling. Sentimano Counseling is the premier perinatal mental health practice in Kansas City, treating mood disorders during pregnancy and postpartum, perinatal loss, infertility, eating, and exercise disorders. Go to sentimano.com for further information about the practice and services. For additional information on today's topic and guests, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Fit for a Queen.
And Hashtag Fit for a Queen.
Don't forget to rate us on iTunes. We can't wait for you to join us next time on Fit for a Queen.
Bye, queens.